Hey, this is Anthony with RevZilla. Watch, decide, and ride. Welcome to our detailed breakdown of the new REV'IT Stellar 2 glove, available at RevZilla.com. New for spring of 17, this is the new Stellar 2. Now, this stands on the shoulders of what works so well with the original Stellar glove, which in our estimation was a entry-level to mid-range track glove, really well suited for sport riding as well. And what they've done with the new Stellar 2 is they've made it more usable. So when I look at it, I think of a hardcore, more sport-oriented glove that is no slouch at the track, but is nothing when you compare it to the level of the technicality on something like the Spitfire or the Jerez Pro within the REV'IT line. Now, if we look at it, big changes. The first thing you're going to notice is something we're excited about, even though at first glance it might be looking like you're getting less, and that's going to be the updated knuckle scheme. You're still getting the Trionic knuckle, which is the coated aluminum seated in the TPU, but what they've done is they've made it more flexible. They've given it its own secondary panel with a Temperfoam behind it, and they've eliminated some of the bulk, and they've also eliminated some of the accordion. And that's really the big thing here that jumps out, where it makes it, in our eyes, a better suited street glove. Now, there's a lot of other changes they made about this glove, and we think about seasonality, you're not really riding in the rain. Think spring, summer, fall, hot weather, and I will tell you that it does have a ton of technicality baked in. You really don't lose a lot here. You're just getting a more functional, usable glove if you don't want to go into the full race stratosphere. Now, as I leave this, I'm going to put it down here in case I'm going to compare to it one more time. Let's briefly talk about fitment. I'm wearing a size large. You can see it fits me pretty spot on. It has a light race creep curve. You're going to look at external stitching around the fingers, quite comfortable, and imagine it's going to break in about 10%. Now, REV'IT typically makes American cut gloves. I, for years, have been wearing large, even though these guys are from the Netherlands. So keep that in mind. Icon in first gear, I'm a size large. Alpinestars Dainese, I'm still an extra large. So depending on where you fall within the mixture of gloves you typically might already be buying, keep that in mind. REV'IT, size large, fits more like an American glove. Not really monkeying with my sizes. Use the size chart. Remember, we'll ship for free over 39 bucks. You want to click our logo, subscribe to us at RevZilla on our YouTube channel. Leave me your comments, your questions, your feedback on the new Stellar 2. Now, two colors here in the Stellar 2. I have my black white and I have a black red. And if we look at it, there's a lot going on. You're still looking at a mixture of cowhide and goatskin. But if we look at the back of the hand, they have changed a fair amount. Starting from the back, working our way forward, notice they've simplified. They've gotten rid of this bi-elasticated panel here, and we already talked about the fact that it's a very protective knuckle, but they've streamlined it, made it smaller, and made it more usable for everyday riding. The other thing that I want to call out really quickly before I ditch the original version is notice the outseam. While the new version's fully encompassing with one piece of leather, they've also ditched this TPU, which can become a pressure point, and in favor of that, or in favor of SuperFabric, which is tiny laser welded ceramic plates, they're going to attach on the side here. They're going to allow you to slide better than the setup on this glove. So I actually like that substitution. The other big change, if we turn them over, the previous version was really set up to be a little bit more hardcore for the track in the way it was designed, and ultimately it was a dual cuff closure. Now you have to go up to the Spitfire to get that. The new version of the Stellar 2, is going to have a single cuff closure, which is a little bit more usable for the everyday rider. All right, get a good look at the previous version. Goodbye. So diving back in, if we look mid-digitally, you are going to still get the raised areas of Temperfoam. You still have a few TPRs mid-digitally outside of on the knuckle here, where you're going to have an elasticated panel where you might hook your control fingers. And what I like that exist on the new Stellar 2 that didn't exist on the previous version is you now have denser foam on the tips of the fingers, which again use that box stitch, that external stitch. You have that raised pre-curve, but again, they're giving you a little bit more shock absorbing as we work our way through there. Now, the thumb has been redesigned. Again, another area of foam paneling on top of the thumb. Notice it is perforated, and this is a new feature. This roll at the medial side seam that just encapsulates that entire seam. A lot of race gloves that might be lesser would not have that seam. Again, it's nice to see them stepping forward. Now, one of the things you're not getting on the new Stellar 2 that you had on the previous version was a back of the hand liner in aramid, which is a Kevlar derivative. And ultimately, you're losing that from this glove. You're going to need to step up to something like the Jerez or something like the Spitfire if you want to start playing in that Kevlar range. And again, that's where I look at the new Stellar 2 and say, for all its magic, you are losing some of the race level protection by not having that aramidic or that Kevlar area. Now, moving back into the palm, notice control patch is reinforced with digital goat, crook of the hand, no surprises there. We talked about the SuperFabric, which we're fans of. And then ultimately, they've also added scaphoid protection here. So ball of the thumb coupled with your honeycomb dual compound slider creates a little bit of a gap there. If I put my hands down, now I have a better chance at not mangling those small bones in my wrist if I happen to get it off, have it off and put my hands down, just like that. Remember, it's still dual comp honeycomb slider, which is a slider and a shock absorber. You know, the ES is engineered skin from REV'IT. And notice a lot of the accent stitching, in my opinion, just looks cool here. We do have our wrist closure here, and it's funny, I called it a single cuff. It's actually a dual cuff because you have it at the wrist. The other one would be a triple cuff because you have two at the wrist, and you open it up, you're still getting that perforation scheme to help you breathe. But again, now it's just micro Velcro, one directionally from the inside out, pulling everything together. So remember, if we look at this glove, I still think it gets you to the track. I think it loses a couple components that you like to see at the track, but ultimately for the everyday rider, it's going to be nice and streamlined. The other thing I neglected to mention walking into this video, previous version was around $200. This guy shaves about $20 to $30 off of that. So you're coming down to the mid 100s, which in my estimation for all the changes they've made, I actually applaud them to be able to work in some of the new materials and actually bring the cost down at a time where we're seeing a lot of costs up and with some manufacturers, cheaper materials being used. So bravo REV'IT, you've done it again. Ultimately, the Stellar Original was not one of my favorite gloves, but around that $160, $170 mark, and now thinking through some of the new components, I think you've done a great job at raising the bar in the category. The next step in your journey, though, is to click the info button, your desktop, your mobile device. Visit the product detail page at RevZilla.com. Read other rider reviews on the new REV'IT Stellar 2. You shouldn't just take my word for it. Don't mess the new Spitfire glove as well, which is its big brother. As always, we'll ship for free over $39. If you want to talk to a gear geek, see us at RevZilla.com or 877-792-9455. Thanks for watching our detailed breakdown. Remember, subscribe to us at RevZilla on our YouTube channel. Stay up to date with our opinion on the latest and greatest in the moto universe. I'm Anthony. We'll see you next time.